Hey guys, welcome to the Makse Life Community Series. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am Jess Lewis. I own Knockout Print Shop with my husband Matt, and we make planner stickers, decals, and dividers. You can find us here on Instagram at Knockout Print Shop. You can also find us on YouTube. I post a video every week from plan with me's to how-tos and things like that. So we own a planner sticker shop, and when the Makse Life Planner came out this year, I had the opportunity to meet Sierra, and we started to make stickers for the Makse Life Planner, and I fell in love with this planner. I think it's great, the quality's great, the system is awesome. So I wanted to participate in this and share with you how I use the planner for weekly planning in general, how I use it to set my goals, big and small, how I break them down into action steps and all of that. I also wanted to kind of share with you my experience of using this planner as life is kind of shifting through this whole stay home quarantine thing. For us, our day-to-day life hasn't changed too much because we do both work from home and we don't see a lot of people as it is, but it has put a little damper on a few areas like fun and recreation. We can't do much there. Our business is, of course, slowed down a little bit with this whole situation, so we've used some newfound time to focus on some other projects and ways to generate different income. So I wanted to show you in my planner how I regularly plan and goal set and all that, as well as explain to you how things have shifted for me during this time and how I'm using my planner to kind of manage all of that. So stay tuned and I will show you how I use my Makse Life Horizontal Planner. Okay guys, so I wanted to show you how I set up my goals, how I set up my weekly planner, and the tools that I use. So I use the Makse Life Horizontal Planner. Honestly, for years I have been a vertical planner, but I recently switched to the horizontal and it's actually working really well for me. Although I've had some changes lately in my workflow and lifestyle, so there's a chance I may go back to the vertical, but we'll talk about that here as I go through. So I don't want to do a full-on plan with me because sometimes that just stresses me out and takes a really long time, but I did want to show you kind of how I set up my week, how I set up my action steps, my goals, and what tools I use and how I lay everything out. So we'll flip to this month. Obviously, we are in April here of 2020. I use some mild liners. I've decided these are the colors that I think work best to color coordinate with the goals. I don't use highlighters a ton because I do tend to use more stickers and just pen than I do highlighters, but I like to use these in certain spots, which I will show you. And then probably my go-to stickers that I use from our shop are just these little various little dot checklist shapes. These work really well to color coordinate my goals, action steps, things like that. So those are one of the main things that I do use. I also like to use some month labels in my monthly that are coordinating to the color of each category. So the red ones being the work and the green one here for this particular month being a financial thing. Okay, so my month view here, so got my tools, this is my month view. Month view for me is incredibly simple. All I put in here is time-based things, events, stuff like that. I don't have a lot of those things going on, but I do have some coaching clients that I will put those down there. If I'm ever doing lives, whether it's for coaching stuff or for Knockout Print Shop, those kinds of things go in here. Annual, biannual, irregular bills will go in here as a reminder. So my monthly doesn't get too much use. I don't have a lot of different events and things going on in my life, whether we're going through quarantine or not. My month views are pretty minimal. Just to flip back and show you, this particular month I used highlighters, but you can see I don't have a lot going on or make much use of my month view. Okay, so then, as you know, if you're a Makse Life user, you know that we go into next year monthly goals. So here, typically what I do is I will put down things that are broken down from my bigger annual goals, or things in this particular month that I just know I need to get done. They might not necessarily be a smaller step of a bigger goal. There's definitely categories here that I have more things going on or give more attention to, and then others that don't get quite as much love. And for me, that really isn't an issue or problematic in my life. There's just some areas that are more maybe important to me or need more attention, and other areas don't need as much attention, things like that. So the main guys that get the most attention are work and financial. So that's kind of where you're going to see the bulk of my monthly goals or to-dos. So just to kind of quickly go through this and give you an idea of what this looks like for me. So the personal section tends to typically be for me not very heavily used. And in fact, you'll see as we go through this kind of flip through that I do switch this category out to another category. So personal to me is just kind of random stuff that has to do with not particularly any of these other categories, just things that I need to get done or focus on. So kind of coming back around to this idea of what we're going through right now in the world with this stay home, shelter in place, our business has slowed down a ton. Both of my businesses, both Knockout Print Shop as well as my coaching business, has slowed down, which is not great. We do have safety nets in place and we've planned for emergency, so we're okay, but it's definitely not something fun to see your revenue go down, or if you're somebody that was employed, to experience unemployment, things like that. So one of my focus points or goals for the month of April was to research and seek out potential remote work. Just kind of connect with my network of people that I know in various industries and just see if anybody needs, maybe their industry is busy during this time and they need somebody that can do some remote work. So that's been something I've been kind of focusing on as I pick up on these other projects and things like that. The second thing in personal is just kind of my Coach Jess or my jessmlewis.com, my personal brand, and kind of focusing on that in a way to generate content, give value, and then create revenue streams. So this month with this whole COVID thing, what has really happened as far as how my lifestyle has shifted as I've gone from really heavily focusing on the print shop and building that to seeing that income kind of slide in a not so great direction. So then kind of thinking about what can I do to buffer that? Where can I use this extra time to invest some energy in projects that I might have been putting off? And that's where this kind of just brand thing comes in. So I think if you're somebody that's going through unemployment, your business is slowing down, this whole COVID thing has taken a hit to your financial, state. First of all, if you do nothing, that's also totally okay. Some people are in a position where, this is just kind of devastating them, and it's really hard to think, well, what can I do to generate income right now? And the opportunity is a little more limited because we can't go out and seek jobs as much easily and see each other and do things in person. So it's totally okay if you're just like, I'm going to ride this wave, get my unemployment check, my stimulus check, whatever your situation is, and just make it through this, and then hopefully things go back to normal. If you're in a position where maybe you do have skills and you can seek out other work, I think this is a great time to try new projects, launch things you've been trying to do, reach out to your network of friends and people to see if there's opportunity out there. So long story short, wherever you're at is okay. And for me, kind of where we're at is I was like, okay, I need to take this as an opportunity to see where I can find more opportunities. Anyways, I am rambling. Okay, so then we have fun and recreation. This poor little guy doesn't get too much love, but that's totally okay. One of the fun things that we do like to do is go on a hike once a week. Again, during COVID, it's been a little bit more difficult. In fact, we live in Tennessee. We've had to drive over the border to Kentucky to do some hikes since state parks are closed, national parks are closed, and state parks in Tennessee. Kentucky does have a few that are open, so we went across the border to go to Mammoth Cave, and we're just trying to find creative ways to hike besides just walking around our neighborhood. So that's kind of like the level of our fun right now. And then work, you'll see here, I have this divided in two sections. So for me, that work has two arms right now, I guess. So we have the print shop and then we have Coach Jess. You'll see as I flip through my weeks, I've made Coach Jess the personal category, so this is gonna shift. But I just keep kind of over here for work like a little to-do list of things I need to remember to do for that month. Releases that we're doing, projects that we want to work on, things like that. Same for the Coach Jess stuff. This is launching an at-home fitness program, my social media schedule, sending out a weekly email, just kind of content creation based things here. So that's that piece. Family and relationships. Me and Matt and I usually go on a lunch date each week on Saturdays. Obviously we can't go out, but our favorite Mexican restaurant has opened back up for takeout, so now we're doing date night in. And the other thing I've been working on this month because of the situation that we're in is connecting with my colleagues, small business owners, planner people, fitness people, wellness people, and just trying to check in with people and see how each other's doing and all of that. So that's where I'm at with that one. Health and wellness for me is pretty automated. I have been, I'm a coach and I've been doing my strength program for like I think almost 20 years at this point consistently. So that fitness, fortunately for me, has been part of my life for almost my whole adult life. But there are elements that I do like to work on, which is ensuring that I get my daily activity level up. I don't believe there's something magical that comes and happens at 10,000 steps a day, but I do find it's a nice focus point to make sure you're getting up. So I was finding over the past 3 months during the winter, I was pretty sedentary and not getting out in nature as much as I would like. So I instituted for myself a 10K steps a day, as well as in my Coach Jess tribe on Facebook, to try to get this collaboration and support and accountability going. So 10K steps a day. I've also decided to institute an unplugged Sundays. I've been wanting to do this for a while, but in the time we're going through with this COVID stuff and just finding myself on social media much more than I would like to be, I've instituted that I am not allowed to go on social media at all on Sundays. I'm on week 4 this upcoming Sunday, and it's fantastic. So I highly recommend it. For me, every month is always just read daily with personal growth and spirituality. And I'm going to tell you more about how I break this down here in a second. Financial gets a lot of little check boxes, but these are mostly automated month-end tasks and things that I do regularly, but I just like to check them off. Budget every month, pay with bills every month, run certain reports, things like that. So that all lives down here with the addition of filing my taxes, filing Tennessee business tax, things like that. So this is pretty much the same every single month. And then we do transfer any extra income we have into savings because we are hoping to buy a house here in the next few months. So that's kind of one of our major goals. And then physical environment for me is home related things that can be from cleaning to cooking and things like that. So I just kind of have the same stuff down here typically, maintain my clean house. We have a pretty good system, what days we vacuum, we clean the bathrooms. Our house is real small. We live in a 1,000 square foot apartment, so it doesn't take a lot of effort to keep it clean. But we do have a good routine down to just kind of maintain that, and then house hunting. So there's that. So this is my monthly goals. Some of these are related to annual goals. Without making this video crazy in depth, just to flip through here. This was my goals were almost more of a brain dump in some way when I went through this process, but I do feel like what I have here in bigger annual goals has been broken down and continued to be worked on throughout the month. Everything from reducing screen time, my unplugged Sundays, hiking, working on, one of my big goals this year was to launch the Jess M. Lewis website and do that. So I've worked on that. It's been good. Buying the house. So all of these things have kind of shown up and been integral and part of my monthly. Okay, so that's what my month looks like. I try not to overthink it. At first I was overwhelmed when I first saw the Makse Life Planner. I was like, oh my God, there's so much space. I don't have that many goals. And then I finally was like, I'm just gonna use this however it works for me. And for me, it's like a version of a to-do list for each month, like a dashboard, as well as goals, action steps, all of that. So I just kind of let it work for me the way it needs to work for me. And it does help me make sure I'm paying attention even a little bit to each area. Okay, so then we go into weekly action steps. I have been, for the past couple weeks, consistently using this side of the page to kind of do a weekend reflection, just kind of what worked, what didn't work, adjust what I need to adjust, things like that. So you'll see this page show up as I flip through. Weekly action steps, this first week here of April, I had the categories as they already are. And again, just breaking down, some of these are just to-do lists. Like in my personal, I need to email a dairy farm about a herd share. But you can see 10K steps a day. Some of these things are repeating from monthly, but it's just a reminder each week. So you're going to see a lot of repeats as I go through this as far as the monthly goals becoming weekly action steps. And personal growth, that's my read daily. So I was really doing well with this. And then I kind of it fell apart. So you'll also see the next week how I change this. But I do like to write little notes about how I did. So on this particular week, I only missed one day, which was good. So that kind of helps me kind of see what's going on. Let's see if there's anything else on here that I might need to note. So right here for this particular week, I had Coach Jess and the print shop all mixed into one. And that didn't feel super useful. So you'll see how I changed it here in a second. So we get into my first spread. This particular week, I did what I have been doing for months, and I kept just kind of splitting space in half, keeping the to-do list on the right-hand column here, and keeping time-based things on the left side. And then this right-hand column becomes like personal, bill reminders. For a while I was tracking work hours, throwing icons down for particular tasks that weren't necessarily like work related, because mainly I use this to organize business work stuff. Tracking my steps, things like that. So this was the layout I had been using for weeks and weeks, and it does work really well. And then down here, I've gotten into a habit of keeping a little highlight section, 1 or 2 words, just to trigger myself to go, okay, what was good from this day? And that way when I'm flipping back at the end of the month to reflect, I can really quickly glance at this and go, oh yeah, that was good that happened and all that. I've thought about adding this into my monthly and putting the highlights somewhere on here, considering I don't use the monthly very much. So I may try that in May. Then I have my habits here. These are pretty consistent as far as what is on here. Some of these are habits I'm actually working towards or working on building: the walk 10K, steps a day, and read daily. Some of these are just automated tasks I like to check off. This particular week, what I played around with is I used an X to mark off each day that I did. These are automated tasks. I used a check mark to focus on the one that I was building. I don't know if that's necessary or if that helped me, but that's what that is about. Okay, so reflected. This was, I believe, last week, yes. So on this week, I shifted this and kind of made it more my own. Instead of making this personal, I called this my Coach Jess section, which is personal because launching that website was a personal goal in a way, even though it's kind of work related. So that really helped me break apart my work into 2 sections. So this red work category, that's where all the print shop stuff lived, and then this is where the Jess brand stuff lived. So you have things like launch the fitness program, cancel this app I was using, purchase a website, do a live Q&A. These are things I needed to get done, or upcoming like appointment things. So like if I'm planning in the week before and then I'm like, oh, that's right, I'm gonna do that Facebook Live that next week, I'll make a note here on the weekly action steps, almost like this is a upcoming to-do list or dashboard. And that reminds me when I go to plan for that week that I have that going on. So I like using it for that. You'll see hike shows up every week. You'll see the 10K and the unplugged thing shows up every week. Read daily, I wrote did okay. So this is when this habit starts falling apart. Different things related to the print shop was connecting with more friends here. So Zoom with a couple friends, date night in, and then paying taxes, all that good stuff, vacuuming. So these are really simple. And then here is the spread. Now this spread for this week is when I started changing this up a little bit. Still dividing the sections in half, but using one side for the Jess brand and one side for the print shop. And then this again is kind of housing personal stuff. This worked really well because as I am trying to build this Jess brand thing that I'm working on, a lot more to-dos are coming up. So trying to shove it all into one section wasn't working. And this is why I alluded to I may need to go back to a vertical for a little while, because vertical does give me more list space. And that's what I used to use when I had the print shop and my gym. And it allowed me to create 2 separate sections. So that may be in the future, but for right now, this is working fine. And the one thing I do like about the horizontal is that it keeps you confined to a smaller space list-wise. And it almost forces me to like slow my roll and not overdo things by having like this epic 70 million long, to-do list thing. So you can kind of see how that worked. These are to-do lists. I did use some labels in here for time-based things. The very far right has again some icons indicating different tasks, from shopping to paying a bill to doing laundry. I have my little step counter here on the right this time. See the highlights down here. Habits are the same as the week before. Little weekend banner. I don't tend to use the weekend space a lot, but I've started now to keep to-do lists of things we need to do on the weekend. So I don't really divide the space in half because it's just kind of like whatever's going on that day. So that was last week. So let's bump up to this week. So you can see this has become more organized as this month has gone by. And this Coach Jess area with the different tasks and events I have going on with that has grown. Still have the work stuff here. So this is working out really well. I do like highlighting each of these sections and writing the category down. But again, you're going to see 10K steps a day, unplugged Sundays. That's working really well. So since my reading goal wasn't working so well, I wanted to talk about this. And just to kind of show you how I shifted this to help myself be more successful. So I found that when I just kept putting read daily, and I wasn't making this a habit attached to any other already automated habit, that I was starting to kind of just not keep up with it. So what I did this week was tell myself I'm going to connect this to another habit or a time. So I said read 1 page before bed. You will see this didn't work. And I'm going to tell you what I did next here for the upcoming week. But I'm finding now that as I'm working on my bedtime routine, I'm getting more tired earlier, and it's making this harder. So I've got to shift for that in the next week. So what I was also finding is I'm pretty religious at getting up before 6:30, and I was going to bed by 10:30. But just kind of like with all this COVID stuff going on and sitting around watching TV more than usual, that I'm like binge watching shows with Matt, and I'm going to bed later and later. And then it's like, okay, well, we got to get up. I got to take out my contacts. I got to take the dogs out. And then I got to go to bed. So I'm like, aha, I think instead of telling myself I need to go to bed by 10:30, I again need to attach some task that preps me for bed with another automated task. So what I decided to do for this week was tell myself I'm going to take out my contacts and wash my face if I need to, if I had makeup on that day, right after dinner. That way those two things that usually re-wake me up if I'm getting sleepy on the couch are done. And so far that's been super helpful, and it's actually helped me feel more like sleepy and ready to go to bed by the time I usually would go to bed. So that is my new focus here, so I can get back to that being in bed and hopefully asleep by 10:30, which is hindering me reading a page before I go to bed. So this is going to change, you'll see there. But just wanted to kind of explain that, because if you're finding your habits you're working on aren't really working, or you're very inconsistent, I think it's a good idea to figure out what's going on, scale it back even smaller, and try to attach it to another automated task that you are already doing. That way it's easier to build it. So, okay, that's my Coach Jess little PSA on that. So there was my goal. So this was this week here. Same kind of layout where I'm splitting the 2 days in half, using the left for the Jess brand, the middle for the print shop, and then this for personal. So this worked out really well. Nothing really fancy here. Lots of moving stuff around with arrows. If something didn't happen, it comes to the next day. I have gotten to the point where I don't care if my planner is messy anymore. I need to get things done. I don't care if things are messy. So you'll see scribbles, you'll see mistakes, arrows, all of that stuff. But my 10K steps a day doing that. Down here on my habits, the little tweak I did make is I did use the highlighter to highlight the circle for certain habits that were not daily. So for instance, post on Instagram 3 times a week, I highlighted the days I wanted to do that. Post on Facebook, what days. So that way it's kind of like, I didn't fail if every circle is not X'd out, because there was only a certain amount of days per week that I was planning to do that habit. So far so good. Again, my reading is not going very well. So let me show you now, before we wrap this whole thing up, how I prep for the upcoming week. So like I said, as I'm planning and going through this week, if anything comes up, appointment-based things to do thing that I know I need to work on for next week, I will automatically put it over here in weekly action steps, because again, this is like my little dashboard that preps me for that week's planner spread, as well as obviously houses some goals and some tasks. So for next week, I already have stuff on here that needs to be continued. 10K steps a day, unplugged Sundays, all of that stuff. So things that already need to be on there are on there. Upcoming time-based things, a task I need to do that I keep bumping over. And then I've decided now, because I've realized this reading 1 page before bed isn't working, I have been waking up earlier now, a little bit before Matt, so I'm going to read 1 page every morning. So I think it's really important, guys. I know this is a really small example, but as you go through this process of setting goals and building habits, you constantly have to be reflecting on and seeing what's working and isn't working. Scaling back, making changes, or if something really isn't working, get rid of it and figure out something new. So that's where I'm at with reading. We'll see where that goes. So that's kind of my preparation for the week. And then this is as far as I am for the upcoming week. Nothing's really on here. I've already drawn my lines to divide my space. I did write some habits over here, and I kind of changed the way I did this for next week, just focusing on the habits to me that are more important versus automated. So my 10K steps a day, my 1 page in the morning, my PM routine, meaning contacts out after bed, my AM routine. I just like to know that I did my little AM thing. Check email and social, and check YNAB. And I kind of highlighted these based on the category that they're in. Okay, Whew. So that is how I use the Makse Life Planner, the horizontal. I really am enjoying this, and I will say now, being almost a full 4 months in, I really have started to get in groove with it and the process. Originally, I was really kind of struggling with these sections with all these lines. I'm thinking I had to have so much on there, and what am I going to put? And this, you know, some of these areas I have nothing going on, or it's going to be the same every week. And as soon as I embraced that, and I was like, do whatever you want with this, and if everything repeats every week, that's cool, because that's the reality, right? Like, we're not going to have a new habit every week or a different goal every week. We're just continually working on these things to make them automated and to chip away at them. So if there's a lot of redundancy from your monthly to your weekly steps, and you feel week over week they're the same, there's nothing wrong with that. That's actually good. That means you're working through it and you are building and working on it and giving it the attention that it needs. So that is my experience so far with Makse Life, using the planner as far as a weekly planner and using the goal setting pages and system. I do think this is a great system for anybody, no matter how big or small your goals are. The planner is fantastic with the paper, great, crisp, nice, white, thick paper that writes on really well. Color coding is great. There's so many awesome things about this planner if you're somebody that is looking for a weekly planner that also allows you to have a very simple and effective goal setting system. Okay guys, so I hope you all found that helpful. Thanks again for tuning in to the Makse Life Community Series. Let me know if you have any questions. You can find me again at Knockout Print Shop on Instagram, and we also do have a YouTube channel. So I will see you guys soon, and that is it.